Welcome back to the PI Files, where we are going to dive deep into stories and expertise that shape our world. Today's guest is Rory Montez. Rory is a digital forensic examiner. Rory has worked on more than 900 digital forensic cases and holds certifications all over, multiple certifications. One of them is an advanced smartphone forensic certification. He is a qualified and established data recovery expert and is licensed to collect evidence in the state of California, has testified in court, deposition hearings all over. He is a two-time SANS lethal forensicator, coin holder for 500 and for 585. He founded Grizzly Data in Whittier, California in 2019. Please welcome Rory Montez.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for coming here. Well, first of all, please do me a favor. Tell us about yourself. Tell us how you got into this industry. What made you get into this?
Sure. My background is I started out in investigations, corporate investigations, working for different employers, whether it's managing cases where there's employees doing drugs or theft. And one of the type of cases was digital forensics. So I was tasked with learning enough about digital forensics to be able to interface with the clients and then be able to interface with the contractors, the actual forensic people, so I could translate what they were saying and explain to the client.
Got it. What is digital forensics?
Digital forensics is the collection, preservation, analysis, and testimony regarding digital data. So essentially what I do is we collect data in a way that is court approved. We then review or analyze the data to determine what the value or meaning of that data is. And then we report those findings to our clients. And if necessary, we'll testify to those findings.
What was your path? Any sort of schooling, or how do you get, we mentioned these hardcore certifications and stuff. Mm-hmm. What are those? If you can just break them down, because
sure,
the average person doesn't know what this is.
Yeah, my path was I started with the CompTIA A+, which is a great starting point for anyone interested in getting into this field. It is the entry-level certification for IT. It teaches you the basic building blocks, and you also get to learn one of the critical parts of this job, which is people. A lot of people in tech are not good at this part. They're very smart, but they don't work well with the clients, the end users, because you have to be able to translate from high to low depending on that person's level of technology knowledge. So that's a big part for me that I took to heart, which is it doesn't matter what you did if you can't explain it and if the person doesn't understand it.
Got it. On a daily basis, what type of devices are you typically analyzing?
I'm doing mostly phones, computers here in California, Macs a lot, do a lot of cloud collections. After I got my initial CompTIA certification, I went and got tool-specific certifications, like for Celebrite, which is a tool we use to collect phones. After that, I went after the more general ones in the sense of I want to be able to prove in court that I'm an expert in digital forensics. So I went to SANS. SANS is like the Harvard, I call it the Hogwarts because it's so fun, of IT. There's a lot of people who love teaching and love doing tech. So I went and took the Forensics 500 course and passed that. I won Challenge Coin for Lethal Forensicator. Forensicator is the combination portmanteau word of forensic and investigator.
Got it.
Forensicator. So after that, I just recently got my GIAC Advanced Smartphone Forensics certification, and that one was a blast.
Wow. Where do you go to get that?
This one was a course that was a 7-day course, I believe, in Las Vegas. So I was there for a week taking the class, and at the end of the class, we get to do a capture the flag challenge where we were tasked with solving a murder, and we had, I think, 2 hours to solve it. And one team half the class, the other team half the class, and whoever wins gets the coin.
Yeah. And so you got 2 coins.
I got 2 coins.
Beautiful. Did you ever go to that hackers convention in Vegas?
I've been to some of them. I'm interested in going to the big one, DEF CON. That's the one I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
Some of my classmates were telling me about that one. That's the one where everyone's walking around with a baseball cap and glasses because the people who work for the government who do this, they don't want to be recorded on cameras. So they want to have, no visibility for their, profile. So that's one of their moves is they always have a hoodie on and a hat and eyeglasses.
And they're doing some of those field exercises during that as well.
Yes, they're going to learn, new things, new techniques, often to learn what we on the consumer side, the civil side are doing, because they have access to tools and skills that, we don't even have yet.
Yeah. So can you run me by all the types of cases that you handle? What's the most frequent, just all the types of cases?
Sure. I do a lot of very basic cases for attorneys, which are some of my favorite ones, because it's very straightforward. We need you to collect this phone. We need you to pull down this person's iCloud. We need to collect this specific WhatsApp message thread. This is a video of someone in an industrial accident. We need to get just this video off of their phone. Sometimes it's very, very straightforward. Just, get into this MacBook and create an image. Other times it's hack the MacBook. We need to break into it. We don't know the password.
Yeah, I just spoke with a client that I want to bring you in on, because we do a lot of cases together, and I want to bring you in on this one. Guy who thinks his ex-girlfriend, ex-wife is doing stuff. A lot of times it's revolving around family law and money and support and things like that. But he thinks his car, his house, everything is bugged, and then he thinks his phone is hacked. And I think the hacking of the phone is probably the more obvious choice potentially, because physically you have to have possession of that car, or put a tracker under the undercarriage, or go and break into a house to put in cameras and things like that. So he ended up getting another phone with another carrier. But he did show me text messages where things happened in person and conversations happened in person, and there was only two people there, and they're getting text messages about it and things like that.
Yes, that can happen. For many years, AT&T family sharing was a huge culprit. These family sharing plans. You can also set up two-factor authentication where you have access to that account on another device. A very low-hanging fruit one we often see is we'll have a client go, "Oh, they seem to know everything I know beforehand. How do they know?" Oh, you're auto-forwarding all of your emails to them. They went into your email and they add in themselves as an auto-forward. And so now every single email that you get, they get.
Yeah. Jeez, man. How does your work support, we talked about it briefly, private investigators, and you're obviously testifying on things. You mentioned a family law case before. Because a lot of these, some people are just paranoid. And when I get these calls, I always talk about you, but I get a sense of maybe some mental instability. And we've done some over the years where I said, "Listen, let me talk to your family members and friends, and I don't want you to waste your money and our time. Let's just talk to your friend and let's get you help." So we've got those types of categories, and then we've got the ones where are legitimate. Or, hey, okay, if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. And we'll explore the options, but we're not going to gouge the client. We're just going to go, okay, we'll get you peace of mind. The family law case that you had, can you get into that where they are legitimate? Is the percentage more or less, what's the percentage illegitimate versus legitimate on these cases?
From my own experience, I would say it's about 95% of the time there's no evidence.
Got it.
Yeah, on 5% of the time, there's actual actionable evidence where we can prove that this occurred. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of this can be attributed to paranoia or fear. There was a lot more during COVID when people were, locked up, essentially not able to go out. I mean, we're social animals, so not being able to socialize definitely affects people. So one of the ones I can talk about was a case that sounds a lot like a lot of the other ones. Is a person who feels that an ex is spying on them, has inside knowledge about something, and how do they have this knowledge? I'm not telling anyone about this. So I went in and I did my normal thing where I imaged the phones, I imaged the computers, I analyzed them, and I found absolutely nothing. But another professional who actually scans for physical devices, for signals, for other types of intrusion, identified good old-fashioned recording device, a little handheld digital recorder that was set to auto-record when voice activated, and they just placed it on a high ledge in the victim's home, and they just would come over once in a while and pick it up and then, take it off site, listen to it, and then take it back and place it again and just leave it there. And then that was how they were getting the data.
And what microphone what device did they use for that?
So have you ever seen a movie or a TV show where there's a doctor walking around talking to themselves into a little microphone or a tape recorder, taking notes? It was that type, a $20 digital recorder. It was digital. It wasn't tape-based. So when the other investigator found this, they brought it to me. It was locked. I had to figure out how to break into this digital recorder. Once I broke into it, it actually was empty. I forensically imaged it, and according to the image, there's no data. But the client was very adamant that this was occurring. So I said, well, there's this thing called file carving. Every file has a header and a footer. It's a signature, essentially. So when you click on a file in a computer, it tells the computer, hey, I'm an MP3. Play me with an audio player. Hey, I'm a .doc. Open me with Word. And so I did file carving on the image, and I actually was able to recover MP3 files. Most of them were sample recordings, birds chirping, the ocean, but a couple of them were very long recordings of this victim having detailed conversations about their issue, their personal issue, and there it was. So essentially, their worst nightmare was confirmed. They were having their voice listened to in a private conversation, and then that data was being taken off site and listened to.
Did you have to testify on that?
Yes, I did.
And then, so it actually helped the case potentially.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people, when they call, they don't realize that what you do and what, like a bug detector does, it's very, very specialized. And like we mentioned, your training, your certificates, and the equipment. And they just think maybe, I can get this thing on Amazon and I'll do it myself. And when you see those devices, I know that's not your specific, expertise, but when you see those devices that locate devices, do you have any opinion on that?
Yes, I do think that, like in any profession, you want to get references, you want to look into the person's background. There are a lot of people who are very smart in this industry who went into this field before there was school. And those people have specialized knowledge that is real. But then there are also people who take advantage of people who have a state of mind where they're concerned or terrified. And I've seen with my own eyes someone walk around with a TV remote and act as though that was a scanning device. And I thought that was not professional, but it wasn't my part of that case. So not something for me to go into. But yeah, there are definitely, unscrupulous people out there who are going to take advantage of people who are in that state.
What kind of evidence do you recover from devices that, people wouldn't expect?
Some of the odd ones are the very specific ones. We all have jobs, and in our jobs, we use tools that really only we use. So occasionally I'll be asked to go in and pull all of the data from a chiropractic database, or I'll be asked to go in and to a property management database and pull files, or asked to go into a very specific type of application that I've never worked with before and have to figure out how to navigate it, how to work with it, and then how to get the data. So that's my big thing. People ask me to I need the data, and I am tasked with figuring out how to get it. So
is there, when somebody thinks that they're savvy about something like maybe deleted files or whatever, is there a time where you're like, they don't understand that, hey, you're not, it's never going to go away? So in other words, is there a time where you get like some of these deleted files? You mentioned that the one with the recording device for the, doctor microphone. Do you see, because you can get a perception of how people are with what they're doing with that. Do you kind of joke to yourself and think, nice try, but I got it?
It's pretty common. We have a saying in this business: get yourself a Mac, get your employees Windows.
Got it.
Yeah. The reason for that is on Mac, all of the unallocated space, all the empty space is encrypted.
Okay.
So you're not going to recover much from a Mac when a user deletes data,
Yeah.
as opposed to a Windows computer where in the past we've been able to recover basically anything that the user deleted, as long as there are certain parameters, such as it hasn't been years, and the person's been using the computer daily since then and overwriting data. So in a normal case, in a Windows computer, an employee deletes something, you turn off the computer, you put it in a locked room, and you call one of us. It's a good chance we're going to be able to get it back. On a Mac, we're just not going to probably be able to get it back. So in terms of what you said, yeah, it's kind of funny. I think of Lassie, where, the iCloud, you'll delete something and you go, haha, it's gone. And iCloud goes, oh, hey, here it is. I brought this back for you. You wanted this, right? And you're like, no. I did one recently where there was a man who had several emails in his personal account, and we had to do what's called remediation, basically a before and after, where we go, look, we're going to document what's here as is. Then we are going to target these files. We're going to preserve these specific files, and then we're going to delete them. My job's supposed to be a ninja, to never delete anything or leave any evidence of what I'm there doing. But in these cases, the person is usually in a lawsuit and they have to delete the data. So in this particular case, we had like 5 or 6 emails. We did those steps I mentioned, we preserved. Now we're on the step of, okay, let's delete them. Yeah. It took half an hour to delete those 6 emails because we would delete them and then we would hard delete them from the trash, and then they would show up under recovered emails in the cloud and go, oh, did you want these? And go, no, we were trying to delete these. And we would redelete them and redelete them until after multiple sign-ins and confirmations, okay, yes, it has finally been hard deleted. The user cannot access it. Yeah. But if I didn't have that experience and knowledge, I would have left that job and been like, oh, yeah, they're deleted. And then a few months later, someone else could have gone in and gone, aha, he didn't really delete them. Here they are. Yeah.
Jeez. What type of tools and software do you use for your job?
A lot of high-end, powerful gaming computers, believe it or not, because gaming computers and the type of computers that we need processing for are very similar. In terms of software, there's a wide variety. One of my favorite things about the classes that I've taken with SANS is learning about free tools, learning about tools like iLeap, ALeap. There's a lot of tools out there that you can utilize that are free. There, though, are a lot of expectations in our industry. So the big hot one right now is Cellebrite. Cellebrite is the one that has the cachet, so to say. Yeah. It's a court accepted tool. That's all it is. But a lot of people ask for it by name. I'll be called and say, hey, I have a phone I need you to image. Okay. Do you have Cellebrite? Mm-hmm. Oh, you don't? Goodbye. Oh, you do? Okay, let's move forward to the next step of this. So that's a tool I use for phones. I use a tool called, it used to be called Macquisition, which is a much better name, I think. It's called Digital Collector now. Yeah. I use that to collect Macs. Good old FTK Imager is a free tool you can use to collect Windows machines. And then I use a tool called Forensic Email Collector to collect email. Elcomsoft Phone Breaker I use to collect your people's iClouds, or iCloud Drive, their iCloud backups, their iCloud messages.
Wow. Are you surprised when you get some of this evidence? It's...
Yeah, I'm surprised sometimes at what we're able to get. So, for example, a good one recently is I was asked to collect sync data from an iPhone. Sync data is the concept that Apple hopes you have multiple Apple devices, so that when you take a photo or you send a text message, it goes and synchronizes across all of your devices simultaneously. So if you have that turned on, we found that when it does, I pull down people's, their data in their iCloud. If one of the categories they've asked me to pull down is their photos, it contains their hidden photos. So these are photos that usually people want private. They don't want to be visible other places, but they're sitting on Apple's server.
It's not truly hidden, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have a little parentheses. Hey, not, it's still in our server, but hidden, but not really. Right. How do you stay, because this is such a rapidly, every day growing field that you're in, how do you stay up on the new technology, the threats? I mean, is there something that, any sort of groups you belong to, or obviously you got these certifications, but there's something new every time. There's some new threat. There's some new scam, some new thing that people want to do.
Yes, very good point. I'm a member of multiple groups, threads. IACIS is one of the groups I belong to. I'm a member of the Cellebrite, Mobile Forensics. It's basically a Google group where people A lot of law enforcement, a lot of civilians will post, hey, I got this phone. How do I get into it? Or I'm dealing with this one specific computer. How do I do this or that? One of my favorite things about this industry is how much we all help each other and the collective sharing of knowledge so that we can all advance.
Yeah.
I go through, regular training. That's one of the things I think you have to do in this industry, is continue your education. So the course I took that was so valuable will probably be worthless in 10 years because things will have changed so much.
How about any sort of legal or ethical challenges that you have seen, in digital forensics?
Sure. A big one we face, obviously, is when we are going to collect someone's phone. I'd say 1 out of 10 people throw a hissy fit or are very uncomfortable about that process. So, for example, we'll go to a business and we're going to go do 10 phones, and 9 of the people will just hand me their phone. And the 10th will say, I am not comfortable with this. You're going to have all of my data. How do I know you're not going to do this? How do I know you're not going to do that? And I completely understand. On some level, I am like the dentist. It's an uncomfortable process that you don't necessarily want to go through. You're being forced to go through this through a legal hold, or you're being sued. So some of the things I learned from my mentor is to explain to them, that it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, but just a moment to destroy it. And I have to sign NDAs regularly, confidentiality agreements regularly. Aside from that, I have my own ethics, which are that if I'm hired to look at text messages on the phone, that is all I'm going to be looking for and at. I do understand people's concerns, but one thing I do tell people is everyone has stuff on their phone, so don't feel worried. I don't have time enough to play with my kids, so I don't have time to go, looking through your stuff in my free time.
Exactly. How do you ensure that the evidence that you collect is admissible in court?
Good question. Using processes that are court accepted. So, for example, when we get a device, we do not just plug it in and start imaging it. We start with documentation and photos. We document the make, model, the ownership. We do chain of custody. From there, we document within the phone or the device who is the user of this device. What is the Apple ID? After that, we're supposed to do things in a way that's different than we're doing them right now, frankly. In the past, with computers, you wouldn't even turn the computer on. You would pull the hard drive. Well, with modern Macs, if you pull the hard drive, you destroy the computer. That's not a good, good thing. So we have to do these on these phones and these modern computers where they're on in a live state. So the encryption key have unlocked the device and we're able to get the data. That creates a catch-22 because now we're leaving footprints. We're plugging in the device. We are plugging in USB to the computer. We are making changes. And these changes, we document them, of course. But even then, in the old days, we wouldn't be making these changes because the hard drive would just be pulled out and we would just collect the data that way.
Yeah.
But it's part of the deal. Currently, that's how we have to collect the data. So for the time being, since this is what we're kind of stuck with, we just use best practices to try and minimize our footprint. One of them is airplane mode, putting the device into airplane mode so that the user can't remotely wipe the device.
Yeah, and you need to have physical control of the device for you to analyze it.
It's
right?
changed a lot.
It's changing, but okay.
Yeah, so we can certainly do it the old-fashioned way. We plug in the phone to a computer and use Celebrite. But a lot of times nowadays we're doing iCloud because it's just simpler. We're doing one right now where it was easier to just get their iCloud passwords and we got their messages, which is what we needed, rather than ship them a computer and have like a forensic laptop kit and have it collected that way.
Yeah. What are some of the red flags someone should look for if they're suspecting digital infidelity or corporate espionage, anything like that? Things are being hacked.
Couple things you can certainly look for are profiles on the device. I have a little note on that here. So basically, you want to look for installed applications. You want to take a look at your downloads folder, check your browser history, look for links in your text messages in your email. You definitely want to examine the activity of the phone around the time of the suspected infection. Profiles are allowed on iPhones. Profiles are for MDM, mobile device management, where if you're an employer and you're going to be giving out 1,000 phones to all of your employees, you need to have a way of controlling those phones, knowing where they are, if necessary, wiping the phone, taking data off the phone if the employee goes rogue, quits. But these can also be used for evil, quote unquote, where you can put a profile on someone's phone and now you're receiving all of the data, or you can see their data essentially. So that's one that we look for to make sure that there's no profiles there. And then those are kind of the big ones.
Got it. How about protecting your personal devices? What do you have for your personal devices, and how do you protect it?
Sure. As annoying as it is, those messages that you get, hey, there's an update. If you see that, click it, get the update. They push updates when there's a vulnerability, when there is a hole. And that is something that bad actors exploit. And so you don't want to be a victim of those exploits. You want to have the latest patched of whatever that device is. For passwords, as annoying as it is, a 12-character or longer password of uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and special characters. Those are
Google
strong.
Chrome suggestion, is that good or no? For all your passwords?
So that's a great one. We were just talking about this the other day. Now, these password keepers, they hold all of your passwords for you. And that's great for you, for your comfort. But just think of it as like you have a safe that has all the keys to all the other safes. Yeah. If you break into this one safe, you have the keys to the kingdom.
So then just come up with...
The old-fashioned way still is works the best sometimes. Clients I've seen who have a piece of paper with the passwords written down that they keep in a safe is often the most secure.
Yeah. You mentioned you have kids. What are you going to do to protect them? Is there something that you're going to put on their devices?
Yes, you can certainly utilize within Apple. If you have an iPhone, there's things that you can go into to control the amount of screen time they have, what types of websites they're allowed to look at. But you have a lot of variety. Apps like Life 360 is an app that is for the elderly and for children. That can be a good choice for monitoring their activity, where they're located. Aside from that, there are just good old-fashioned spyware apps that you can almost like an employer put on their computer or their phone. The profile I just mentioned, and those are the apps that work like that. Those give you full access to what they're doing and seeing.
Got it. What should somebody never do if they suspect their phone or computer may be involved in a case?
This is one that is tough and something that I hope will help people, because we deal with this regularly. People panic when they're scared, and that's common. And what we often find is they will panic and they will wipe the device. And if you do that, I'm not going to be able to get those artifacts for you that prove that you were hacked, because you have now swallowed the key to the safe, and there's no recovering it. So if you feel that your phone has been hacked or there's an intrusion, ideally what I would recommend is you turn off the device, you put it into it sounds silly, but a Taco Bell wrapper, something foil, something that's going to minimize the signal. You can get Faraday bags, but those are, again, you can just use good old-fashioned tin foil and just put it in a safe and just leave it there in an off state. Because if there are artifacts on it, we can get the phone and we can collect it and get those artifacts. If you wipe the phone, I can't help you.
Is it easy to do? I mean, spy on somebody's phone, track a person digitally?
It's easier than it has ever been before. There's a thing that I definitely think your listeners, viewers would find of interest. It's a rabbit hole if you ever want to go down it. Just go Google Operation Triangulation if you want to learn about the detailed way that the iPhone was exploited about 2 years ago. At this point, we've all kind of gotten used to the idea of, if you get a text message and it has a link in it, don't click the link. Tell that to my dad all the time. No, just ignore it. I know it looks like it's from, the fast track people or it's from your bank. It's not. So don't click that link. But now with this operation triangulation here, they have a 0-click exploit where essentially they can get into your phone without you doing anything. Yeah. Without you clicking anything.
What do you use? So you have all Apple products? Is that what you use, or do you have a mixture?
Personally, I have a mixture because I have to for being able to do analysis on different ones. I have Macs to do work on Macs. Most of the tools are Windows based for Windows, but Yeah, in terms of myself, I have an iPhone. Even the U.S. government this year has recommended not to use the normal iPhone messaging app, to use Telegram or some other encrypted
Signal,
application, Signal.
And then what about your settings? Are you not going on TikTok? Are you, what are you doing on that?
Yes, I tend to avoid those types of websites personally, but people use them, and I understand that, it's their choice, but it is funny. Everyone's so worried and concerned about security while you're carrying around a microphone, a camera, and a GPS at all times. So if someone wanted to know where you are, they have those three things.
Yeah, it definitely helps with cases, because a lot of people aren't aware of all that stuff. So obviously it helps your business and, getting that volume. But are there any settings that you have on your phone that you could share?
Sure. All apps are granular, meaning that you can go to the highest, most secure settings or the lowest secure settings. If security is a concern for you, you're going to want to have it at the highest security settings. This can be kind of a pain in the butt where you have to do two-factor every time you sign in and certain things like that. But that's the price you have to pay for advanced security. So yeah, for any app, if you're interested in, I recommend just Googling advanced security settings for, so advanced security settings for WhatsApp, advanced security settings for Signal. So WhatsApp is a good example where the messages can be encrypted or they cannot be encrypted depending on the user settings.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. It's only getting crazier.
Yes, especially because we're growing so much with these devices. It used to be where we go do phones, and every once in a while they'd ask me to pull down iCloud. Now I do just as much iCloud, if not more, than actual devices, and the volume of data is staggering. I'll regularly pull 800, 900, 1,000 gigabytes off of someone's iCloud.
But you have, yeah. There's no hiding, yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is Apple changes your settings to what they think they should be when they do an update. So if you change a certain setting and you do an update, go back and make sure that setting is still what you wanted it to be, because there's a chance Apple might have said, no, that is not what we think you should have. We think you should have this setting. So definitely review your settings after an update.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming here, and thanks for sharing all your amazing knowledge. And then if people want to get a hold of you, learn more about what you do, use you for the work that you do, what do they do?
You can Google Grizzly Digital Data. I'm also on LinkedIn under Rory Montez, Grizzly Digital Data.
Awesome. Thank you very much, sir.